Good morning, early game crew. Congratulations. You made it to Friday. The weekend is here. It is a football Friday here on the early game. And we're getting your football Friday started off right. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. And we are doing our serious preview of the Alabama-South Carolina game that is going on tomorrow, 3:30 on ABC, a national stage. And I think Jen Jensen's response there is probably how most Gamecock fans feel about being on national television, given how the season has gone for them and how the season has gone for Alabama in the month of September and October.
Well, there's obviously two teams going in different directions. It feels like, right? Alabama's ascending. Gamecocks are trying to stop the free fall from last week and the weeks beyond that. All of that being said, hey, man, you got to play the game. You got to play the game, and we got to get up there, and you got to get in there, and you get an opportunity. And that's the big word I think Shane has to use over the facility, is that it is an opportunity for you to change the conversations that are happening around the team this year. It won't be easy, obviously. We know that.
Right.
They are a great team.
We didn't go to the moon because it was easy.
Right, and that's the whole thing about this. This is not going to be an easy task. This is not going to be a task that I think will happen, that you think will happen, that Jen thinks will happen. But it doesn't matter what we think.
Nope.
The only thing that matters is what those folks in the building think and can they go execute it. So, hey, man, you're on TV. This is what you want, that you signed up for. Let's go.
You know what? And I tell you what, I don't just put it out of the realm of possibility, because there are times where they have snuck up and really, really surprised us. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'm going to keep the positivity. I'm not when I'm sighing early, I'm kind of half sighing, but I really just feel like they may surprise us a little bit more. Even if we don't get a win, I just feel like maybe something in the mindset will shift.
So, This is the thing, and I was thinking about this yesterday. We should be, and I encourage everybody, we are past the stage of moral victories.
Yes.
Yep.
We are, we were ranked preseason 11. We are supposed to be talking about victories, multiple,
This
10
team
wins.
was built to
So
have
we're
victories.
past moral victories. That being said, there is a scenario where you walk out of this game losing, feeling better about the season than you feel going into this game without winning. There is a scenario where you lose the game, and maybe I'm just speaking for myself, and I feel better about the season moving forward. There's also a scenario where I don't know if I could feel worse after the Oklahoma game, honestly. So there's that. But there is a scenario where you lose this game, and we're not talking moral victories of valiant fighting or anything like that, but where there's maybe more proof of concept of what you're trying to do.
That's the thing. Maybe more proof of concept of what you're trying to do or how you're going to win games.
Right.
Because this game right here is the first of 3 straight where you are playing very complete teams, right? Ole Miss can sling the rock, run the ball, and stop what you do defensively. Texas A&M has looked like the most well-rounded team in the SEC, along with Alabama, right? These next 3 games are going to be very similar to each other because you are playing elite competition. Yes, the other 2 are going to be on the road, but if you prove that you can hang on the field with somebody, then that can maybe give you hope that you can steal one of these games, because you have to steal one of these 3 games. You're in a position in your season now where if you desire to play in a bowl game, you have to pick off one of these 3 teams and then take care of business against Coastal and then beat Clemson at the end of the year. But you're at a position right now where that is a non-negotiable, right? Where you have to win one of these 3 games. And even if you don't win on Saturday, you have to at least do something to make you feel like you can win 2 or one of the last 2 SEC games.
Absolutely, because again, as a refrain, as we've said often, hope is not a strategy.
No.
You don't want to go into these next 2 games after this one thinking, well, I hope maybe today's the day we turn it on, or maybe the next week is going to be. It's probably not going to happen. And so this is a great primer to see, is this team ready to compete for the next 3 games, which are monumental in the course of this season. So there are a lot of things that can happen throughout the course of the game that can give us some indicators to say that, oh, this team can compete. And there's some other things that won't. That's why hey, man, this is something worth watching. So if you are maybe a fan that was going to tune out, they're not playing well, so that's your choice. I get that. But there are some things that are worth watching for the rest of the year, and maybe even for the program going forward for this game.
See, that's the type of fan I am, that if my team is heavily favored to lose in a game like this, and I'm like, you know what? Forget it. I'm not watching this. That's always when they end up winning. And then I'm like, oh, I missed it. God, I would have loved to have watched that. It's like, I'm going to the beach or doing something. And turns out I look at my phone. Oh, pulls off upset. Like, of course it happens whenever I don't watch. So that's what always would bring me in.
Again, man, I tell my story, and I'm not expecting this to happen. And it's kind of to Jen's point that we have this in our recent memory. I'm old enough to remember that when South Carolina was playing a team that was ranked number 4 in the nation, coming into town, high hopes for the playoffs. That did happen. And in that game, I remember very specifically, my wife, we were like, that was the first year that they had the LED lights. And she had not been to a game yet. And I was like, I mean, it's a night game. I was like, there's probably going to be some lights, but we got to get there early so we can see the first light show, because there
might not be any.
There probably won't be a lot for the rest of the game. So we went out there, and lo and behold, light show, fireworks, LED, all types of stuff was happening.
Running out of fireworks.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So are you and your wife going to this game? Because I think that's maybe the common denominator.
We will be on the premises because it is homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
So we will be on the premises. I believe we will be enjoying some tailgating. I will not be in the building, though.
But, well, at least your vibe will be in the vicinity.
Maybe the vibe may carry something. But, yeah, that was our Tennessee story. We're just going for the lights. Light show. And we got one.
You got a light show.
And so, hey, man, I don't know, man. Anything's possible. Also, to the point, and this is not loser language, but how many of these do we get every year?
It's not loser language. That's life language.
Right.
That's like my whole thing. It's like someone asked me, like, you really excited to go see this game? I'm like, well, this is more than likely the last SEC versus SEC football game I get to cover this year. I only get a finite number of these in my career and in my life. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fall Saturday in which I get to cover a game between 2 SEC teams. I love that every time. I'll always take it. So that's why I'm excited. But if you're going to the game, it is a fall Saturday at Williams-Brice Stadium against a top 5 team. Yeah.
It's going to be beautiful weather.
It's going to be fun regardless.
Beautiful weather. Yeah, beautiful weather. I mean, it could be miserable. It's not. It's going to be nice weather. So, hey, man.
Again, we waited all year to get this stretch of season. So good, bad, or indifferent.
Yes.
You go, you enjoy it.
Because you know what? I guarantee you that when June rolls around, I'm going to be sitting on my front porch
begging
thinking,
for this.
Damn, it'd be really nice to have a college football game on right now, wouldn't it?
Right.
Good, bad, or ugly.
Yeah. So you only get so many of these. But when you talk about comparing maybe this game to 2022 Tennessee, rankings very similar. Teams are very similar in terms of prolific output. But Kalen DeBoer has a history of letting some of these things slip. He has a history of having his teams playing lights-out football only to completely wet the bed against an inferior opponent a week later. Case in point, last year, they beat Georgia. That was the game of the year. That was the game that Jalen Milroe won the Sepp Theismann. And what do they turn around and do the following week? They go on the road.
Was that the Ryan Williams game, too?
That was the Ryan Williams game. Yeah, the Ryan Williams game. And what do? They go on the road. They turn around. They get beat by Vanderbilt on the road, 23.5-point favorites. Later on in the year, they're 14.5-point favorites against Oklahoma on the road. Jalen Milroe throws a couple pick sixes. That's the season. They lose. Go back to his time at Washington. Even in the undefeated regular season against Washington, they go on the road as heavy, or they're home against Arizona State as heavy favorites. This was not what you know now as Arizona State. This is year one Kenny Dillingham coaching Arizona State underneath the shadow of a bowl ban. Arizona State favored to win by about 4 touchdowns. They win 15-7 and have to scratch and claw their way out of that game. The year before that, Washington was really good. They had to go on the road a couple times, and they got beat. At UCLA, they're double-digit favorite. They go at Arizona State, which would be, guess what? Herm Edwards coached Arizona State. I think at this point they had an interim head coach, so not even Herm Edwards. Herm Edwards was fired by then.
Herm was already out of town, on TV already.
Herm was already doing hits on SportsCenter at this point, and still going to Arizona State, losing by 7 despite being a 17.5-point favorite. He has a strange affinity for going on the road as a double-digit favorite and either letting that team play and hang around or straight up losing the game. So if you're looking for any type of vision from your garnet glasses, sometimes Kalen DeBoer will give gifts. He already did it once this year. They were 14.5-point favorites when they went to Tallahassee in week 1. And guess what? They got beat. And that's the one game we look at like, okay, that's the weirdest result in the college football calendar. But that's a bad Florida State team. We have since learned that is a bad Florida State team. And that bad Florida State team ran up and down the field on them because for some reason, Kalen DeBoer has a really weird, strange kink for losing games in which you are on the road as a double-digit favorite.
So when you were looking at those games, I wonder what he does in self-reflection. I wonder if you try to figure out why that's happening for him. Are there any commonalities in this game? I would imagine they probably lose the turnover battle. You mentioned Oklahoma threw a bunch of picks. Are there any other commonalities that those games possess as we can maybe look for something, a string to tug on here?
That's a really good question because last year it was turnovers against Oklahoma. It was the pick sixes, interceptions, and the offense only scored 3 points. The offense in the game where they got upset by Vanderbilt, if you recall, actually played really well. They moved the ball really well. However, they couldn't stop Vanderbilt's running game. For some odd reason, couldn't stop. Vanderbilt, I don't think, punted the entire time and converted like 11 third downs. And they held the ball.
And a fourth down, which was
a big fourth
huge
down.
Fourth down.
They hoarded the ball for about two-thirds of the game.
Fourth down play action pass. I remember it very specifically.
Junior Sherrill caught it by like the tip of the ball, right? I mean, about as close as it can get.
Took some stones to call that.
It did. It absolutely did. And then if you go back to sticking on that Vanderbilt game, they had one turnover early, a pick six that was the difference, right? But the game was played in such fine margins that made the difference. You go back to 2023 when they played that 1-5 Arizona State team and had to squeak their way out of it. They did turn the ball over 4 times in that game and still got outgained by that team. Gave up a touchdown to one Cam Scattaboo. I think we all know who that guy is now. And then in 2022, if you go and just look at that UCLA game, they gave up 40 points in that game. Defensively, just did not show up. They were not game, right? They showed up to UCLA. They were favored to win. It wasn't by much because that UCLA team, I think, actually ended up pretty decent at the time. But they did lose the week after at Arizona State and gave up 45 points. So, almost 400 yards of total offense to, again, a bad Arizona State team. Defensively is where his teams have slipped up. So this is a big Kane Womack game for him in terms of trying to find ways to not slip up against South Carolina.
So there's various things. Vanderbilt obviously had a rushing attack. That's something that we're lacking right now. You look at Florida State, they have a maybe I'm finding something. Interesting run games that might give them some issues, right? Vandy has an interesting run game. FSU has a very interesting run game, which even though they're not good, it still does present you with some issues in preparation. That's not something that we have right now. I don't know if it's something that they're working on or something that we're going to pull out or whatever the case is, but we do not have a run game that presents, besides being effective or good, it doesn't really present any issues in preparation because it's pretty basic as far as preparing for it. So I don't know if I talked myself into that, but that is something that might be there that you can probably maybe steal from some of those people that have had success.
Was a Pablo Picasso quote, says, good artists borrow, great artists steal. Maybe there's something that Mike Shula could steal from some of those games whenever South Carolina has the ball. And that's what we're going to look at next is what can South Carolina do when they have the ball? What is a possible blueprint to being able to not only fix some of your offensive woes, but maybe score enough to be able to hang around and let your defense give you a chance to win this game? We'll break that down next here in a Football Friday edition.
Preston here for our friends at Cato's Power Equipment. Cato's Power Equipment has been family owned and serving the Midlands since 1983. That's over 40 years. And third generation owner Ben Cato provides top-notch service, great deals, and the mom and pop values that you love. And Ben is determined to raise the standards of sales, service, and retail. At Cato's, they're proud to offer a wide selection of new and pre-owned mowers, tractors, and more. So if you're ready to invest in something new, the team is there to make the process easy, help you choose the right equipment, find financing options, and keep your gear running strong with expert service and parts. Whether you're a weekend warrior or a seasoned landscaping pro, Cato's has got you covered. They have a huge selection of new and pre-owned mowers, tractors, and all the gear you need to tackle any outdoor project. So swing by Cato's Power Equipment today or call them at 803-254-3711. That's Cato's Power Equipment at 803-254-3711.
Have a good start to your Friday morning as far as the highways are concerned. And when you look at the forecast, not too bad either. Sunny today, 73 for the high, some passing clouds, and a high of 70 tomorrow. Starting off the morning, though, overnight low going to be about 44. So if you're doing some early morning tailgating, it'll be a little bit cool. Going to want to layer up. Sunday will be 68, Monday 59, and we will be in the low to mid 60s all of next week with a little bit of rain that could be starting the week as well. 46 right now on the early game.
Now, last year when South Carolina went to Tuscaloosa to play Alabama, the offense felt like it was sputtering. You just came off of a 27-3 butt kicking against Ole Miss, where you were the butt that got kicked and you scored only 3 points. And the questions and the narratives of that team that entire week leading up into it is, how do you fix this offense? The offense is stuck in neutral. How do you fix this offense? They go to Bryant-Denny Stadium, and Lenora Sellers has a fantastic game where if he just makes a couple more plays, a couple more throws, you win that game. But you're in a position to win that game late because your offense clicked, found something, and you're able to move the ball well enough to score 25 points in Tuscaloosa to make that thing really close, and then give yourself the proof of concept that you could do what they did at the end of the year. Well, different pretenses going into this game, but the similarity is that your offense is mightily struggling. You're coming off a game in which you scored 7 points at home against an Oklahoma team with CFP aspirations. And just 2 weeks ago, you only scored 10 on the road against LSU. The offense is sputtering. It's a taller task this year, I would say, than last year to be able to get it back on track against this Alabama team, despite playing this one at home. But when the Gamecocks have the ball, Preston Thorne, what is a blueprint to being able to get on the scoreboard enough to maybe allow your defense to help you win this thing?
Yeah, it's not going to be a matter, not as if you're trying to salt the game away or try and play keep away from that offense, but there is going to be a remnants of the Vandy offense where you want to put together sustained drives, maybe multiple play drives, upwards of 7 to 10 play drives, even if you end those drives in field goals or no scores. You want to end, as the Lou Holt's saying, you want to end every drive with a kick,
right?
Punt, field goal, kickoff, however
Extra
that works.
point.
Extra point, yeah. That being said, there is some merit to keeping this Alabama offense off the field, playing keep away a little bit, because they're explosive, and it's going to be only a matter of time before your defense cracks against them. So you don't want to give them that many opportunities. So I would say playing keep away essentially with the ball.
Ty Simpson, arguably the hottest quarterback in college football right now, and I think I would feel very comfortable if he is not taking more than 65 snaps.
65, that's the number.
That could be that could be the goal in this game, which would mean you would have to take about 75.
So when I say keep away, believe me, we do not have the luxury of saying, we're going to try and be conservative this game. No, we have to do everything that we can. We have to pull every stop that we have. Shoot the gun, use the bullets, however you want to describe it. That being said, sustained drives will, in effect, play defense by playing longer offense, I guess.
Yes. At least not going 3 and out is one thing. That's a big thing, right? You're going to punt tomorrow. Like, breaking news, you will see Mason Love tomorrow, right? This is not going to be like one of those games like when Thomas Morstead played for the Saints and he would have those locker room pictures he'd post on Instagram. We'd put up a 0, meaning he did not go out in the field one single time. You're not going to have those. Mason Love will not be posting a 0, right? I think it's a reality that he is going to punt in this game. But don't let it be 3 plays after the drive starts and give them the ball right back now that their offense is in rhythm. And then ultimately that rhythm builds to more scoring drives to where at the end of the game, your defense is just exhausted and can only do so much until the dam breaks. And then that's when things get out of control. 3 and outs are how this thing will get out of control. But at least having some type of sustained drive is going to be able to at least keep your defense a little fresher. It's going to at least give yourself a little more of a chance. But you got to be able to take advantage in the red zone. And that's the thing, too. This is one of the worst red zone offenses in all of college football, whether it be Power 4 or a group of 5.
Mm-hmm. Everybody. It is a bad red zone offense. And you're going to have to be able to convert some for 6 at some point. Okay, so going back to the conversation that we had last week about 4th downs. Mm-hmm. This is the week where I would be more on your side saying, like, hey, we need touchdowns to win this game. I didn't feel that way against Oklahoma because I just didn't think that their offense was that good. But against this Alabama team, if it comes down to a situation where it's goal to go from a little bit further out than you feel comfortable with, I'd be more on board with saying, hey, let's try and score something here because we're going to need to match their firepower.
Yeah, I think so too. Also, the more I've thought about it on that 4th down against Oklahoma last week, maybe the worst thing Shane did was tell Mike Shula he's got 4 plays because that's why he ran the ball at the middle 4 times.
Okay.
If you say, hey, we got 3. 'cause
We got to
gotta
score.
and then if you get to like the 1 yard line or 2 yard line, then be like, all right, let's do it. Get out here. Nope. Yeah, stay on the field. Yeah.
You know, that's a great point. That's a great point because you don't have 4 downs to score. You score on this play. Every single play that you call, this needs to be a scoring play.
That was an epiphany I reached just
That
recently.
that is a very interesting thing. I wonder how coaches would approach that, especially when you're within the 10. Like, we're not calling plays to set anything up here. We are trying to score every play that we have here. So whatever it is, whatever motions, whatever formations, pull them out and let's try and score.
Professor P for coach.
Yes.
There might have to be something with that. That is something that you just said that merely. Yeah, don't tell me I have 4 plays to score. You need to score it now.
So if you get in the red zone against Alabama tomorrow, I wouldn't be telling Mike Shula, hey, you got 4 plays here. I'd say, hey, let's get this thing in the end zone.
Well, no, because we'll run 3 up the middle.
Right.
Right. And then it's like, okay, maybe if you don't have that security blanket of the 4th play, maybe on that 2nd down you take a shot into the end zone, right? Maybe. And then maybe you're talking about touchdown where you don't have to make the decision.
So you love the phrase of complimentary football, right?
Yes, I don't know what it means.
Right. Nobody knows what it means.
Nobody knows what it means in its entirety.
Nobody ever knows what it means. In this case, when the coaches get together, you try and figure out how are we going to win this game. We're going to win this game by keeping the ball away from them on offense. Hey, Clayton, we might take some chances on defense deep. We're going to try and score touchdowns, so be prepared to play defense with them coming out. All of those conversations are happening within each other. Hey, Joe D, you just do regular stuff this week. Probably not going to be a lot of trickery this week.
We're probably not going to dupe them.
Yeah,
no.
Probably not going to dupe them. So let's just take care of the basics, and everybody figures out a way to get towards a victory.
Especially considering you faked a punt now in 2 straight games. I don't think you're going to be really catching anybody by surprise.
They won't do it a 3rd time.
Surely they won't do it again.
They won't be expecting this one.
But there's one word when it comes to when the Gamecocks have the ball that I really want to see. There's one thing where if I can take anything from that Florida State game, reverse. At this point, your traditional running game, north-south, has not been very good. You've hit on a couple of explosives, but for the most part, it has struggled. I liked that first play of the game against Oklahoma where Nick Harbor got that reverse and took it 9 yards, right? I think you could do that with him a lot in this game. And not just handing the ball off, play action off of that reverse, faking the handoff, and then pulling it, running, and then maybe dumping it off to him or dumping it off to a tight end.
There's a whole
running a lot of things out of that because that's all Florida State did.
There's a whole suite of plays that you can run off of that action. And that, remember I texted you, it was like, hey, we came here to orbit motion one time and never went back to it. So you run the reverse early to see how they set it up, and then you set up 4 different variations of that, and you can keep that as your primary action, and now you have all types of stuff that's happening after it. That's a game plan, though.
Because exactly. That is like a real game plan. Like, fake the reverses, or actually do the reverse. Orbit motion, where you fake the handoff, or actually maybe do hand it off and bounce it out to the outside. Give them stuff to look at every single play and make them have to think a little bit, and maybe that gives you a split-second head start at the beginning of every play. That's what I really want to see from this offense in this game tomorrow. But what about when Alabama has the ball? We talked yesterday about just the embarrassment of riches they have on offense when it comes to playmakers. How does this defense keep that variety of playmakers out of the end zone? Gulp. Easier said than done, but we're going to try to figure out how they do that next.
Pressing here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. If your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. It's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They will come out to you and give you a free quote for any job. They'll come to your location and they'll replace the job for you. They'll do it for free, and they work directly with the insurance that'll take away the headache. So if you're looking to increase the value of your home with new windows and mirrors, Absolute Glass can take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. You say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
I-20 eastbound before Clemson Road, report of an accident there, so be mindful. I-20 eastbound before Clemson Road. Other accidents have been cleared from earlier this morning. 73 and sunny is what we're looking for today. 70 for game day with a mix of clouds and sun. The overnight low tonight into tomorrow, about 44, so going to be a little bit of a layering thing going on tomorrow morning. Come Sunday, 68, 59 with some rain on Monday. We're going to be in more of the low to mid 60s next week. So soak up these 70s for just a couple more days. Starting off your morning right now, 46.
Alabama's offense, I have declared after watching them play this season and closely watching throughout the week of the previous games, that this is the most throw your hands up and be like, nothing else we could have done type team that you will play this year on that side of the ball. Because one thing I noticed, Preston Thorne, was when I watched a lot of Alabama this year, whether it be against Tennessee, whether it be against Missouri, whether it be against Vanderbilt, any of the ranked teams that they have just gone on this incredible win streak on, Georgia on the road, I would watch. And so many times I would try to be like, what could the defense have done different there? And sometimes it'd be like, oh, you were exactly where you needed to be on that pass play at the exact right time. But Ty Simpson put it in a window where only the receiver could get it, and the receiver left their feet and got it. Countless times noticing that. So when you're playing against a team like that, where you can play a good defensive game and still give up 30, how do you even go about trying to figure out what to do with them to keep yourself in this game?
That's the first piece of information that you need to tell your team early. And it's not a defeatist attitude, but it's telling them our goal is to score one more point than they do. Yep. Now, I know, and because when you say that as the defensive coach, the players are going to look at you and say, Coach, we have not scored a lot of points. Right, because they know, right? You know.
I mean, sitting in that meeting, you're like, oh, don't.
Yeah, you want to roll your eyes. You're like, come on, man. All right, whatever. But anyway, they have to understand that there are times where they will be in the right spot, making the as best play to their ability, and Alabama still might make a play. You can't let that get you discouraged.
Nope.
You have to get back up and play the next one because you don't want them to make that play turn into the next one. Don't let one beat turn into two, et cetera, et cetera. And that is a mindset that they'll have to go. And it's not a bend but don't break type of deal. It's just understanding that they're good too. The phrase used to be they're on scholarship too. Or you could change it to say, hey,
they're on NIL.
They get NIL too, right? They have all the same things that you have, so they will make plays, and that's fine. But understand that it is a long game, and you have to believe in yourself throughout the course of the game.
When it comes to how risky your strategy becomes on defense, does it change in a game like this? Do you take more chances? Do you tell your defensive backs if you think you can jump the route, whether you might get there too early, do you do it because you know you might have to force turnovers in a game like this where you can even play things conservatively, play them right, and still give up 30? Is this a game in which you say, hey, maybe let's blitz a little bit more? Hey, maybe, if you're a safety and you think you got to beat on the play, try to beat the receiver to the ball.
I understand that logic. I'd be prone to go the opposite direction, where maybe I would turn up the risk factor on offense, like I just said last segment. On defense, I might be falling back to the idea of like make them snap it again. Going back to the same concept, but in reverse a little bit. Hey, let's make Alabama sustain some drives against us. Because, yes, you could make a big play by taking that risk, and that could happen, but also we're trying to limit their explosives. So there's a risk calculus there for sure, but I don't want to get desperate and try and feel like, all right, man, we gotta send 7, we gotta send 6, and now they pick up the blitz, hit Ryan Williams,
an 80-yard touchdown.
80-yard touchdown later. So I would maybe tend against a team that's this explosive, maybe trying to be a little bit more conservative. Can we tackle? Can we make them snap it again? They are going to score, but can it be a 10-play scoring drive as opposed to a 2 or 3-play scoring drive?
Yeah, hold them to field goals. That's another thing. Can you hold them to field goals? Not a lot of teams have done that in college football this year. Oftentimes they find themselves in the end zone. But when looking at this team too, their running game isn't very good.
Correct.
I would say it's pedestrian.
And that's something to think about.
It's not bad. I would even say you've probably played worse. You've played worse running games in the SEC this season. It's not their calling card, but it's almost fully dependent on what their offensive line does.
As you were saying that, is LSU the only one that's worse? I mean, Seth McGowan was
Oklahoma coming into the game was worse, and you gave up their best running performance of the year to Troy Blaylock.
They weren't worse on the time that we played them. I say that to say that maybe that's something you want to focus on is can we eliminate the run with this light box? D tackles, you're going to need to show up today. D-line, you're going to need to show up. Can we stop the run? Can we stop the run early and at least force them to throw? We definitely don't want a team that's not two-dimensional get into a chance where they can run and pass the ball against us.
Now, from a coverage standpoint, again, yesterday, if you missed it, we laid out the numbers of where these receivers line up. 3 guys who have all caught at least 20 passes this year. It is incredible. What I would say the true definition of balance is those 3 guys catching at least 20 passes. One of them, Ryan Williams, is in the slot over 60% of the time, but is out wide 37% of the time. Jeremy Bernard is out wide on the inverse, right? 60% of the time, but he's in the slot 30-something% of the time. And then Isaiah Horton is the outside boundary guy, right? 88% of his snaps are on the outside. They are incredibly multiple with what they do offensively on just terms of where personnel is. And they've used that to torch people all season long. How does coverage change when you have 3 guys that are not just immensely talented and versatile, but also are able to have the ability to line up at any given spot on the field at any given time?
So you mentioned yesterday that maybe there's a situation where you have the cat coverage with Brandon Cisse, where he's taking away who you determine as the best. It may or may not be Ryan Williams. That's another.
It could be Jeremy Bernard.
It could be him. Yeah. Whoever you as a defensive staff determine, hey, this is the dude who's actually the best. Maybe not the most name recognized, but the actual best. Could be a lot of those situations. And then again, I really do think you play deepest of the deepest. Don't let anybody behind you. Try and rally up. Tackling is going to be obviously as more important, but try and make them sustain drives. If they have 8 catches, 9 catches, I think that's better than them say if they have 9 catches for 120 as opposed to 2 catches for 120. You know what I'm saying? Like,
make them have to play a little bit more.
I heard somebody, I forget which coach, it might have been Clark Lee, because, you know, that's my guy. But one coach said something, their whole defensive philosophy is make them play another snap. Just make them play another snap. And eventually, as offenses tend to do, the longer they go, there is more chance or opportunity for mistake. So if you could just make them play another snap, limit the explosives, you give yourselves more opportunities to eventually make a play.
You ever played roulette?
I've seen, do not play.
That is my favorite game whenever I'm in Vegas, mostly because I've got it figured out to where even if I'm not there just to win a lot of money, I know how to get it to where I can sit at that table long enough to get free alcohol all night. I'm gaming the system every single time, right? It is my special secret. I've gamed the system. I might not win much. I might lose a little, but you know what? I didn't pay for a drink all night, and I was there for 3 hours, and that is a plus. However, I do believe in the law of probability. Ty Simpson has only made 1 real mistake to result in a turnover this year. Maybe if you just make them play a lot of snaps without scoring, maybe the dam breaks, and after it's on red 500 times in a row, a little bit of hyperbole there, but let's just say in terms of snaps in the game, it is hitting on red, which is just the right decision. 45 times in a row, a black has to come eventually.
Maybe. Again, hope it's not a strategy, but maybe.
But you don't know unless you play the hand one more time, right?
Right.
So maybe that plays into it as well. If you make them keep playing snaps, maybe they eventually make a mistake because they haven't done that a lot this year. Maybe a large sample size could tell you that maybe a couple more are due, but you don't find out if you're not making them stay on the field a little bit longer. Coming up next, Professor P will have class in session. We'll also get to Steve at the beginning of the next segment. So hold on, Steve. We'll get to you coming up next here on the early game. 803-404-6100. That's the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Steve has been waiting patiently. Steve, good morning. Welcome to the early game. Happy Football Friday to you.
Yes, sir. Good morning. It's happy football Saturday. I'm on my way to work, and every team that visit here, I take pictures of their buses and stuff. So I was drove by this while ago on the way to work. Alabama 18-wheeler is parked right at the Marriott, so I snapped a picture of it. Made me nervous. But anyway, Alabama fans are not no joke. Do you know I work at Lee Transport behind Willie B?
Okay.
And right across the street, they already was set. They had their tents and campus already here.
Oh, wow.
Yesterday across the street. So know what that did to me? That fired me up.
There you go.
Good.
So I'm saying this to all our Gamecock nations. Right now, I know we're not happy with our coaching staff, but all we can do is talk about it, can't fix it. So tomorrow, Saturday, all Gamecock fans, let's move those feelings out of the way. Let's go in there and support our boys. If our coaching staff can't put fire in his seat, let us put it on this seat. Let's go out there and do the best we can do. I'm on a positive note. I'm moving everything out of the way. And rest in peace. As Gamecock Lad would say, go Gamecocks.
Yes.
There we go.
That's what I'm talking about, Steve.
Absolutely.
Fire me up.
There we go.
Look, Alabama, he's right. Alabama fans travel, man. And it's not just that they travel from Alabama. It's one of those programs where they have fans everywhere because it's a national brand, right? I guarantee you there are Alabama fans that live among us.
Well,
there are Alabama fans that just live maybe in the neighboring county that have been waiting for them to make this trip here, and they are going to spend the money to be able to get in that stadium and watch. Being loud is a non-negotiable tomorrow.
I mean, come on. Wouldn't you want to travel to Columbia? I mean, they just want to get out of where they are. They're Alabama fans.
I was
Just
going to
saying.
say, you get a little close to the beach,
Yeah.
Maybe on the way.
maybe on the way, you know?
But yeah, we need to be
Buc-ee's in
loud and
Florence.
proud. We need to be loud and proud no matter what. That's our job, to be loud and proud for our team and see if we can't make something happen. So
Because
I totally agree, Steve.
What's the one advantage you have in this game inherently is that you're playing the game at home. So make sure Alabama knows that you are playing the game in their house, right?
Yep. And again, on TV, we have, ABC. Let's show them what we do.
Yeah, let's make a statement.
Yep.
Make Alabama feel like, no, I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me.
Right. We're here.
We're here. So that's the fan objective for tomorrow. But we touched on one thing about Alabama's offense in the last segment that we want to get into a little further detail, the idea of true balance. So now this is where Professor P comes in.
It's the sport of kings, better than diamond rings. Football, Wildcat football, Wildcat football, Wildcat football.
All right. You said balance. This is a word that I've looked in my notes that Mike Shula said several times.
Almost every answer.
Every answer, he has some semblance of that word balance. And you've been saying that you are not a proponent of balance. In fact, you are the opposite. Balance is your ops, I would say.
Yes, the traditional idea of balance, I feel like, is wildly overrated.
Right, because when you say balance in the offensive sense, what the traditional sense, and I think what Mike Shula is alluding to, is the idea that we want to run the ball as much as we pass the ball, right? We want to be able to do things. I think in general, people think balance is that you want to be able to do multiple things on offense. But great coaches, I would position, have a different version of balance. Mike Leach was very famous for saying, like,
If you run the ball, if you think balance is running the ball 50% of the time and throwing it 50% of the time, you're 50% stupid.
right.
That was his quote.
And it made me think of a famous fast food restaurant who serves a lot of chicken, right? They don't say, hey, we're going to serve chicken and hamburgers. That would be balance.
That would be
They
balance.
don't do that. But you know what their balance is? They have grilled chicken. They have chicken nuggets. They have chicken tenders. They have a chicken sandwich.
Chicken
right?
minis.
They have chicken minis. They have all these different types of chicken. So there is a balance. There's something for everybody, but this is only the thing that you get here. And so when you look at this Alabama offense, they have, I love that statement, an embarrassment of riches of skilled players who can make plays, and they take advantage of all of them. That being said, it feels to me on offense, our most talented group are our wide receivers, and we failed to utilize that group to their highest potential because as of now, we have Nick Harbor. Vandrivius was starting to make a breakup, and then he's regressed a little bit within the offense. Not he's regressed; his role has regressed.
After 2 games of going for 100
But think about the game from last year. Mazio Bennett, huge play. He's been pretty much MIA this year. The tight ends last year, Josh Simon, our tight ends, pretty much MIA this year. I would position that the balance in this game is not going to be between run and pass. It's going to be between utilizing more of the players that you have that are available to you.
To me, it is how many players touch the ball, right? How many different players do you have to account for? Because you can run the ball 50% of the time and pass the ball 50% of the time and still be predictable because you're only running it and passing it to 1 or 2 people. But you got to figure out where the balance is across the board. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 coming up next.
Press here for our folks at Integrated Media. It's Football Friday. Football all through the weekend. Sports Equinox approaching. NBA games everywhere. There's all types of sports that are on. You should be taking advantage of it with the folks from Integrated Media, especially when you consider that we now have the beautiful weather, which is going to be here for a couple of weeks. Call the folks at Integrated Media. Get your outdoor setup ready. You can get Samsung Terrace TVs. You can get Sonos outdoor speakers for TV and music. Wi-Fi that works indoors and outdoors. Why is that important? Because you can have all your devices running, watching all of the sports. iPad, laptop, TV, whatever you have, you can be playing everything at the same time with no lag time. So from home theater setup to adjusting your thermostat or monitoring your security systems from your cell phone, Integrated Media is who you need to call. Call them at 803-948-8327. That's Integrated Media at 803-948-8327.
I-20 eastbound before Clemson Road. A report of an accident there. No other major slowdowns to speak of. Good news in that respect. And we got a couple more days in the 70s before we have a little more significant change in the weather. 73 today under sunny skies. Mix of clouds and sun for game day, 70. And then we're 68 on Sunday before some rain comes in at the beginning of next week. and we will be more in the low to mid 60s for all of next week. Right now, starting off the morning a little cooler, 46 on the early game.
Hoping we hear a lot of this on Saturday. Because the number 4 team in the country, the Alabama Crimson Tide, have made the trip to Columbia, South Carolina. Steve already told us the buses are here.
They're here.
The fans are already here. It's time to play this and bring it on Saturday because it is an opportunity game for South Carolina, not just to pull off an upset, but salvage what otherwise feels like a lost season. A win would turn things around pretty quickly, at least in terms of how you feel about this year. Now, sure, you still would like to win more. You would like to make a bowl game. And, like, even if you're playing in the Independence Bowl at the end of the year, I think I would take that as opposed to going 4-8 or 5-7.
At this moment, absolutely.
And you got to have something to hang your hat on, right? Yes, you did not have the season you wanted. Yes, you have failed the objective already of going further than you did last year. But this does present an opportunity to have a potentially program-changing win. Then we have to see what you do next year, but at least it salvages something. It gives you a highlight on the year.
Yeah, this is not making excuses. This is not cope. This is not any of that. But what this is saying that if that was to happen at the end of the year, that means you beat a couple of teams that you weren't supposed to and possibly beat your rival. And so to cap off what is a disappointing season period.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a decent way to end. That being said, they could start with this weekend.
Yep, and it has to. I would even
You
go
say
as
it
far as
has to.
It has to.
Okay, I
start
like
with
that.
This weekend.
I like that.
It must start with this weekend because if Alabama does what I think they're going to do, then I don't know how you feel good about going into Ole Miss and Texas A&M and winning. It has to start tomorrow. So that's and also it's on ABC. It's a nationally televised game. You got to show out at least a little bit. You cannot get dog walked completely on national television. That would only make it a little more demoralizing than it already is. But there are other games in the SEC too that I am fascinated in this weekend because for one, Preston Thorne, LSU is an underdog at home.
We were just talking about that, yep.
To a number 3 team in the country in October. No, they're not playing Alabama. They're playing Texas A&M. There's two different things at play here. There is the history of Texas A&M, who will start off seasons great and then lose one game and let it snowball and then ultimately find their way at 8-4 again. Again, we're getting closer to Halloween. For anybody who's watched the movie Halloween, 8-4 is Michael Myers. Texas A&M is Jamie Lee Curtis. It will find them, right? Oftentimes feeling inevitable that one will be found. But this Texas A&M team feels different. They're 7-0 right now, going to LSU. LSU, a disappointing 5-2, a team that came into this year with legitimate college football playoff expectations, especially after that first weekend of the year where they go to Clemson and win, when our perception of Clemson was a lot different than it is right now. Since then, they have been 4-2, and that offense has looked bad. We scored 20 points against South Carolina. Only scored 13 against Florida when DJ Lagway threw them 5 interceptions, which, of course, one was returned for a touchdown. The offense has looked bad. They moved the ball relatively well against Vanderbilt, enough to be able to score, but couldn't stop what Vanderbilt did on offense. And now LSU is looking at 5-2 and needing to win out to get into the college football playoff. At least that's the prevailing sense and feel here. And if that's the case, Brian Kelly could be getting a little bit closer to that grill. I think this could be the weekend if Texas A&M does, from a football perspective, what I expect them to be able to do and exploit. I think this is the week that Brian Kelly gets a little closer to that grill because the locals in Baton Rouge will not be happy if they drop this.
Because that's the whole reason we feel so bad about this Oklahoma game, because he did it at home. We all were there to watch and see. It's not as if they went to Oklahoma and we watched it on TV and we were in the stadium. We felt the air get sucked out of the stadium on those
Seen it with our own two eyes.
with those fourth downs. Same thing that could happen at LSU. The gift is in you playing LSU. It's a great atmosphere. It's loud as loud as whatever. But the opposite is you go out there and you lay an egg in front of your home people. The natives will be restless. They already are restless. They might be calling for blood. And Brian Kelly, you are on deck.
Yeah, you are the guy brought in to not just go have a good 8-4 season, 9-3 season. That's not the expectation at LSU. The expectation is now that we're in a 12-team college football playoff to participate in the 12-team college football playoff.
I'm gonna put this right here. Maybe we'll get to this later. Maybe we won't. Maybe this is good for both parties here because both parties sort of sold their soul for each other because they thought they were gonna make each other win. Brian Kelly, you're not an LSU guy. Brian Kelly's not your guy, but you both thought winning was gonna make this all work. And you've seen that if there's no winning there, there's no reason for either one of you to be here. And so just put a pin on that and let's see where this goes.
Man, what's so ironic about this is let's just say Preston Thorne University is just built from the ground up, like South Harmon Institute of Technology in the movie Accepted, right? You found an abandoned building, you've created your own unaccredited university, but you have a football team.
Yes, we do.
And I come up to you and I say, all right, Preston Thorne, you're the president of Preston Thorne University. I'm your athletic director. We've got interest from Ed Orgeron, Les Miles, and Brian Kelly. Those are our finalists. Who do you want? I don't think you would think more than 3 seconds about that.
Right. Correct.
And because you would pick Brian Kelly.
Yes, because he's obviously the best coach out of the three. Obviously. But is he the best coach for them?
And if you look at what those three have done in their time at LSU, the two that you would not even think about have won a national championship at LSU. Mm-hmm. Went to a college football playoff. Les Miles was not there when they had I guess Les Miles was there for the early renditions of the CFP, but never made it. Ed Orgeron won. Les Miles won in 2007. And Brian Kelly has not even made a playoff. Has not even won an SEC title.
One other aspect of this, the Brian Kelly tenure has been plagued by terrible defenses. Mm-hmm. Which maybe is excusable because he's an offensive guy. So you're saying, okay, if he can just get his defense right, we know he's going to get it right on offense, and now he's not doing it on offense. And so that's another reason that feeds into your mind as a fan. You're like, well, it's never going to happen with this guy.
Because they count as wasted seasons. Jaden Daniels won the Heisman doing things that we've never seen. That Florida game where he throws for over 300 and rushed for 200, I'm sorry. We're probably not seeing that again at the SEC. Maybe ever, right? Like, that was a generational type game, right? He had a season in which he was completing almost 80% of his passes down the field from 20 yards. Never seen anything like that, ever, right? Like, it is one of those mind-blowingly great seasons that should normally get your team in the college football playoff. It didn't because he couldn't stop a nosebleed. Right? So that was a wasted season. That season that I just described, you went 9-3. Last year, Garrett Nussmeier had a really good year. He was the only quarterback coming back into college football that I think threw for 4,000 yards and was returning. Right? Threw for a ton of yards. Defense couldn't hold their end of the bargain. And now Blake Baker gets it together. You finally have a top 15 defense in college football. It's been top 10 for most of the year. I think in SP Plus they have taken a dip after the Vanderbilt game, but for most of the year, you've been top 10 in SP Plus on defense. You're now outside the top 10, but still a really good defense. In theory, this should be the year you're undefeated at this point in time. You're 5-2 and you're favored to lose at home against Texas A&M. It has now seemed like Texas A&M has passed you. It is multiple wasted years for Brian Kelly at LSU, and I just don't know if that fan base is cool with any more wasted years. You can maybe get away with one or two, but now you're wasting them for different reasons.
Because they're not cool with him. The only reason they're there is because they wanted to win, and if you're not winning, then you don't serve any purpose here.
Especially when you're faking the accent.
Family.
Family. How much Forrest Gump do you think he watched before going into that? I got to watch tape. I got to get these people to like me. Got to watch tape.
Underrated, though. The family was bad, but the 360 camera doing the
what was that
doing
even?
the Watusi, that's the one he's gonna really regret. He's gonna be like, I did that and we still didn't win a national championship.
The internet has not taken advantage of that enough. It was big for the first year.
I positioned.
You got to bring that back.
Somebody needs to resurface that if they lose this weekend.
Brian, call us a play. We're down by 10 against Texas A&M. We need help. Brian Kelly in the corner doing all that mess. See, the memes can make themselves if we allow it for them to make themselves. The College Game Day this weekend, in the month of October, in late October, on October 25th, they're at Vanderbilt, at number 10 Vanderbilt. Now, this isn't College Game Day's first time at Vanderbilt. I do recall them when I was probably like in middle school. They went to Vanderbilt. So this has been like 2008, 2009. It was early high school, where they go to Vanderbilt for a Vanderbilt-Auburn game in September, where Vanderbilt was like number 21, right? They were ranked, and that's a big deal for them. So College Game Day made it a big deal for them. They threw them a bone and went to that game when James Franklin was coaching there. Now they're doing it because this is legitimately a top 10 team playing against a number 15 Missouri team. And what I think is the most competitive game of the weekend. And I can't find myself to pick against Diego Pavia in this Vanderbilt.
Has he reached that status? Don't pick against him?
I think I trust that guy to be able to win that game. Missouri, here's the thing. Missouri's defense is good. Like, they're incredibly athletic. Now, they're not like Oklahoma or Alabama or maybe even LSU, but they're incredibly athletic. They got a really good pass rush. I think Missouri's legitimately really good. And I'd be a little surprised they made the College Football Playoff just because of the road ahead, because they still have to play a couple of teams that are pretty good too. Like, if I look at Missouri's schedule, what they have after Vanderbilt, they still have to play Texas A&M. They still have to go at Oklahoma. And who knows what Arkansas does. Arkansas is the ultimate spoiler wild card in this conference right now. But Vanderbilt has a chance. They win this game, that's another ranked win. That'd be 2 straight wins against teams that were at the time in the top 15.
I saw a clip that Nate Bargatze is going to be the celebrity picker for game day. And he's a comedian. He's a Nashville comedian if you don't know who he is. But he was just saying the convergence of events for him to be, he's like, I've been waiting for this my whole life. I cannot believe. And he was like, he's basically saying that he's played sold-out arenas. His comedy career is someplace he never, ever thought it would be. And this is his crowning achievement, that he gets to be the celebrity picker for Vandy at game day.
A Vanderbilt, Missouri football game.
Who would have ever thought this could happen? Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Yeah. And that's the turnaround of what Clark Lee's done there, considering I remember covering his first game at Vanderbilt. They played East Tennessee State and lost 20-3. That feels like a decade ago. That turnaround has been insane. To be where they are right now is just a marvel.
Was it his first year when they beat Florida at the end of the year?
They turned it around at the end of the year.
That's when he caught my attention. I was like, something's there, because they were, as you stated, they were horrible all year, but they kept playing. Maybe that was the second year, but they kept playing, and I was like, might be something there for that. So, good luck. We'll see. I'm sure Clark Lee's name will be bandied about in the carousel that's coming around and around, that's going around. Mm-hmm. We'll see how that goes. Good luck to him.
I just now realized, too, you and Clark Lee are football contemporaries the exact same years in college.
Okay.
He was there the exact same years you were.
Interesting.
You might have tackled Clark Lee.
Did not beat us, Clark.
He did not. Did also, not. Alabama did not beat you.
Kind of correct. How about this one? Mike Shula did not beat me.
That is correct.
How about that one?
Meaning, does that make Preston Thorne the one coming out of the cockaboose on Saturday?
Maybe.
That would be so fun.
That would be cool.
That would be fun. You know, maybe we should make that a thing. We should make that push, is to get Preston in the cockaboose. I probably should have started this a little earlier.
Yeah.
Thinking maybe, but yeah, we have some work to do.
The last thing before we get out here, too, Ole Miss, Oklahoma. Am I crazy to think Ole Miss goes in there and wins? Oklahoma's a 5.5-point favorite, but am I crazy to think that they go in there and take care of business? I kind of expect them to. Maybe not scoring 35-plus points and doing what Ole Miss normally does, but I can see them going in there scoring 24.
Is this not the one that Lane usually does the drop?
I think the drop might have been the fourth quarter against Georgia.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because they had that one. They had that game won. Now, Oklahoma, best defense in the country. This is, I think, the real stress test of how good Trinidad Chambliss really is. And he can get chewed up and spit out in that game, and that's still not changed my mind that he is a really good quarterback. But I find this one interesting just because I don't think Oklahoma is going to be scoring a ton of points in this game, but I think I just trust Ole Miss to score a little bit more. Oklahoma's favored, and by 5.5, I think I take Ole Miss taking those points pretty easily. I feel pretty good about it. Coming up next, it's the early game morning meeting. There's a lot to get to because there is a wild story coming out of the NBA that we will keep you updated on. The men's team has a big game exhibition this weekend. We'll tell you against who, and the Fall Classic starts tonight. All of that and a whole lot more coming up next.
Hey guys, feeling like you lost your edge? Maybe brain fog's got you struggling to focus? Or what if you're working out and not seeing the results that you used to? There's a reason why you're not feeling yourself, and it might be low testosterone. But you don't just have to live with it. You can visit Dr. Dan Boltnight, who's a local, respected physician, and he will get to the bottom of it. This isn't some faceless online program. You'll see Dr. Dan Boltnight personally, and he'll tailor your treatment program based on your labs and your symptoms. The part about the labs, your initial consultation with Dr. Boltnight is absolutely free. So you can get your T-level checked. There's nothing to lose. All you have is everything to gain. Visit the men's clinic. You'll find a non-threatening, comfortable environment that's open to hearing your concerns. Don't wait. Call them at 803-875-MENS. That's 803-875-MENS. Or you can find them online at mensclinicsc.com.
Traffic a little slow on I-20 eastbound between Highway 378 and Bush River Road. And still working the earlier tie-up I-20 eastbound before Clemson Road. So a couple stretches of I-20 that causing a little bit of grief this morning. 73 under sunny skies. That's our forecast for today. The overnight low about 44. So going to want to bundle up and kind of layer for tomorrow. 70 will be our game day high. Mix of clouds and sun. Come Sunday, it'll be 68 before we have a couple days of potential for rain. We're starting off the morning not too shabby. It's currently fair and 46.
Now, you've been hearing it all morning in our imaging and just through the content of what we discuss here in the early game. And like we will for every show throughout the day on the Game Network, talking about Football Friday. And we'll get back into it because coming up next, I will discuss the most underrated, not underrated, arguably the most important position group for South Carolina. And it's not the offensive line. I'll tell you who that is coming up next. But for our morning meeting, it's time to get you caught up on maybe some of the other bigger headlines from around sports.
Good morning. Good morning. Repeat after me. Today will be an awesome day. Let's go. Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day. Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day.
Absolutely will, and I would even say it already is. But yesterday, what made for an interesting last couple segments of the show, because Jen Jensen, I wish you would have seen the look on my face when I got the app push notification of this particular tweet.
Oh.
Yeah, it was. I think my eyes got about that big around right there reading this, and my jaw might have hit the floor. Shams Charania from ESPN, who's their main NBA insider and reporter, tweeted, Portland Trailblazers coach Chauncey Billups has been arrested by the FBI for alleged illegal gambling, sources tell ESPN. He wasn't the only one. Terry Rozier, former Charlotte Hornets guard and current Miami Heat guard, was also arrested as a part of the FBI sports betting gambling probe. And then later in the day, former player and assistant coach Damon Jones also was arrested. So there are 3 arrests as part of this large.
I believe I heard there, as far as known sports people, but my understanding is there are about 34 who actually were arrested.
And
this is insane.
Yeah, it was a pretty wide. And a lot of this kind of started with Jonte Porter, the Toronto Raptors bench player, who got busted taking himself out of games, faking injuries or saying he's got an eye thing or whatever, taking himself out of a game so the people who bet his unders would be able to cash in big. Now, obviously, it's easy to raise a red flag. Like maybe somebody who is a superstar can maybe get away with that because people like somebody like, of the status of a LeBron James or Steph Curry, right? Because the casual fan will bet on those guys for their stat totals, right? Because they are popular players. Jen, if you walked in here and you said, hey, Elijah, I've got $500 on Jonte Porter's under tonight, I'm immediately going to ask you who you've talked to, right?
Correct.
Like that's a pretty big red flag, right?
That's a good point.
And it's like, wait, there may be some NBA fans who don't keep up with Jonte Porter.
I was going to say, if you're going for people who aren't the top of mind, and a casual sports fan who really only knows the starting 5 or, whatever.
Right. Yeah. The stars.
It's a little concerning.
Right. It would be like me coming in here and saying like, yeah, you know what? in like 2004, so I'm just use a random player here. Like, yep, I've got $1,000 on Brandon Stokely's catches in this game. You'd be like, wait, what?
Who? What?
What? Why that much money and why him, right? Obvious red flags. So Jonte Porter got busted. He's banned from the league, and he will ultimately end up serving some jail time.
Why would you do that? You've worked so hard to get to that place. Why do you just flush it?
Throw it away for what? And for what? And now there are obviously bigger fish. Now, initially when I saw that tweet, I was like, oh, is Chauncey Billups fixing games? Well, no, his is it's still gambling related, but not sports gambling related. He has been accused of and now charged with rigging poker games by wearing like these glasses that tell you like
and
what's under the cards, marked cards, technology that that counts and gives data as to what cards are where, and they would hold like these poker tournaments that the whole draw is play poker with NBA Hall of Famer Chauncey Billups, right? Not knowing that game was completely rigged, right? Which is wild.
Just blows my mind.
And even more strange that it came out later in the day that the connections he had to rigging these poker games, mafia. Related.
Like several mafia families or organizations. It wasn't just one. So then it's like, well, what? Oh my gosh. How do you meet these people?
And Jen, you talked about our bingo cards yesterday. Mm-hmm. If this certain thing you didn't have on your bingo card, I did not have the Gambino family being in the news yesterday, being on my bingo card in relation to Chauncey Billups.
One of these things is not like the other, kind of a, that whole thing. Yeah, I don't get it.
It's certainly one of the more mind-blowing things in sports. That's currently a developing story, and more details will ultimately be released.
It will be interesting just to see how much more this extends out. Again, this was a significant investigation if they have that many people who have been arrested. But, like, what more is still coming?
I'll say this. Whatever 30 for 30 or Netflix documentary that comes out on this is going to be must-watch.
Yes.
It is going to be must-watch.
Yeah, somebody's bidding for the rights already.
And some people would say the World Series is a must-watch. I'm interested in the World Series. It starts tonight. Game 1 is tonight between the Toronto Blue Jays and Los Angeles Dodgers, 8 o'clock on Fox. I will definitely have a tab on that on my laptop when doing the high school sports show. Blue Jays, and it's not even close.
Yeah.
But I feel almost hopeless cheering against the Los Angeles Dodgers because, Jen, they feel inevitable.
Yeah, they do.
They have that feeling of there's nothing that could be done.
I mean, and Shohei, just
best player in the sport right now on planet Earth, doing things we've never seen before.
Yep, which just makes you think that's just that extra edge that they have. So, yeah, I'm with you, but I'm on the Blue Jays bandwagon right now. I hope that isn't, since I'm a Cubs fan, that may be bad luck for them. I don't know, but I'll try to give it.
Tonight, though, here's what makes them feel so inevitable. Like, Blake Snell was pretty good this year for the Dodgers. I mean, he had a 2.35 ERA, really good. A whip of 1.26, solid. This year in the postseason, in 3 starts, he is 3-0 with a 0.86 ERA. He is pitching tonight for the Dodgers. And for the Blue Jays, it will be Trey Yesavage. I think I said that name right. And if not, sir, I'm sorry. But hopefully you pitch well enough tonight that everybody knows how to pronounce your name, because it's going to be an uphill task for them. Decent numbers on the year, an ERA of 3.21 and a whip of 1.43. It's an uphill battle for the Blue Jays, but I'm hoping they at least make this thing interesting, because there has not been an interesting Dodgers series so far this postseason, because they've just been taking a sledgehammer to everybody.
Yeah, they have. Dang it.
But in a game that doesn't count, that I'm awfully intrigued in, Sunday, and it's not televised, very unfortunate, but South Carolina men's basketball team will get a really good test in an exhibition game against NC State, a team that I firmly believe, Jen, might pick to win the ACC. It's a good measuring stick game. I love what they brought in. They brought in a lot of talented dudes. Maybe not the deepest team, but maybe one of the strongest starting fives collectively in college basketball. So whatever that result will be is going to be an interesting look to see exactly where the South Carolina is. They allegedly won their secret scrimmage against Georgia Tech, and because I don't have any real proof
had a secret
the game
score
happened.
And everything.
Yeah, because the score is secret, because everything is so secret. I will say they allegedly beat Georgia Tech in that game. So this will be a much tougher test than Georgia Tech to see exactly where this team is going into the season. But coming up next, we'll get back in this Alabama-South Carolina football game. And you know what? We talked about the offensive line struggles ad nauseum, but there's one position group that needs to step up equally, and I'll tell you who that is next. Now, look, when it comes to roofing and waterproofing, there are some things that are non-negotiables, right? Getting the right advice, for one, getting great service, which is almost a non-negotiable for any field, but also here in roofing and waterproofing. But most importantly, results, right? When it comes to keeping your home or your business dry and safe, it's a non-negotiable to get those type of results. And for nearly 30 years, Midstate Roofing has been providing those non-negotiables to where your building is safe from the elements, it's perfectly waterproofed, and it's able to keep everything running for a long, long time. Be able to use them once and be able to just let your building set. That peace of mind is so valuable. That's why Midstate Roofing is incredibly valuable. And that's why I tell you every day to give them a call for any of your roofing and waterproofing needs at 803-356-1919. You can always hit them up online at midstateroofing.com. But remember, if you have a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek.
Del Reese Street at St. David's Church Road, an accident there. Also I-20 eastbound before Clemson Road, still getting that taken care of. And Nazareth Road at Highway 6, we also have a report of an accident. Sunny and 73 is what we're looking at for the high today. That overnight low of 44, so layer up for tomorrow, which is we have a beautiful game day on the way. Some mixed clouds and sun, 70 for the high, and 68 for Sunday before rain comes in for a couple days, or chances that it is. We're looking for highs in the low 60s to start off next week. 46 currently.
So much about the talk of the South Carolina offense has been the struggles and the shortcomings of the offensive line, and rightfully so. Football games are won in the trenches. It's hard to be able to set up an offense if you can't run the ball by getting push at the line of scrimmage. It's hard to develop a passing game when you don't have much time to throw the ball and your quarterback is constantly having to run for his life. It's important, and it's a big explanation as to why the offense has underachieved this year. And against Alabama, a team that has incredible pass rushers, again, a stat that I mentioned with Preston Thorne on yesterday's show on Old Man versus Analytics, talking about the Alabama edge rushers, Jan Zapier and LT Overton, both of whom have pass rush win rates of over 20% this year. That's the elite mark, right? By that metric, they are elite pass rushers. It is going to be very difficult to keep Alabama out of your backfield, even if you have a good, reliable offensive line. But when you have to fire your offensive line coach midway through the season, things aren't going very well. And it's going to take more than just a week or two for Sean Elliott, or anybody for that matter, to be able to fix what has been ailing you. But there is a position group that South Carolina really needs to step up and help them out on Saturday, and help Lenora Sellers out tomorrow. Those are the tight ends. Because, look, protection has been an issue. There's going to be plays in which your tight ends will have to play as glorified left tackles, as mobile left or right tackles. Brady Hunt's going to have to go in there and block like he's never blocked before in his career. Jordan Dingle is going to have to do what he did a lot at Kentucky, and that's be super involved in the run game as a blocker, but also in max protection sets. Look, the tight ends, if they block well, can assist them maybe long enough for that extra half second for a pass to be able to go down the field, or an extra half second for Lenora Sellers to find an opening in the line of scrimmage and run and pick up 6 or 7 yards to be able to be enough to move the chains. You're going to need the tight ends as much as you need the offensive line to play very well tomorrow if you want to win this game. And that's not even mentioning what they can help you do in the passing game. If we want to talk about success rate and the things that this South Carolina team has done well the most this season, sometimes it's been that quick action play, or sometimes play action, leak out pass to the tight end. I keep thinking about the first play of the year, right? Against Virginia Tech in Atlanta, where it's a play action rollout, and Lenore's just dumps the ball down to Mo Brown, and he takes it 21 yards. Because Mo Brown is one of your more aggressive runners with the football. I would like to see more of that. I'd like to see an effort to get Mo Brown a touch out in the flat and see if he can make somebody miss or break a tackle and pick up a first down and move the chains a little bit. I would like to see that be an option for this team. Brady Hunt has had success on that exact same play a few times this year. It's been one of those plays where the tight end is the unaccounted for player, and yes, it is a short pass, and it might not even count as an explosive play, but it can be your most effective offense because that can be your easy button. And last year, when talking about the 2024 South Carolina Gamecock offense, so much of the discussion through the first 6 games of the year was that your offense didn't have an easy button. Some of the best offenses in college football, even when things go rough and even when things are kind of tough on offense and you don't have much going, there's always one thing you can usually resort to that can get you first downs and at least keep drives alive. Most teams that are really good at this level have that easy button. And last year, that was Josh Simon for you. Josh Simon did a fantastic job last season of finding open spots in the defense, getting into the middle of a zone, and when there's no other options available, dumping it down to him and letting him pick up the yardage adequate to be able to move the chains and keep drives alive. That was your easy button last year. Offense is struggling early against Kentucky, hit up Josh Simon. Offense is struggling early against Vanderbilt, hit up Josh Simon. That happened a lot. You don't have that this year, but the tight end in offenses sometimes can be the most accessible easy button, and you need them to be that on Saturday, not just for your passing game, but also because what they do in blocking. I would love to see a lot of 12 personnel, love to see a lot of 13 personnel. I would love to even see the versatility that someone like Mo Brown has to maybe use him as like a fullback on short yardage situations. If you do plan on running the ball in between the tackles, which I don't really advise doing a lot against Alabama because of how good the interior of their defensive line is. But if you're to do that, having Mo Brown as a lead blocker and almost using him like a fullback may be a way to help out. Because again, if your tight ends can assist with blocking on the offensive line in any way, run blocking, pass protection, it allows you to be able to do more of what you want to do on offense. Now, quite frankly, this year, they have not done a good enough job at helping out the offensive line. You can look at the entire game. Well, the following week, you hang 63 on a top 4 team. There was a blueprint to winning that game. There was a way for them to win that game, and they executed it beyond any Gamecock fan's wildest imagination. Not saying that's something that will happen on Saturday, but if you want to be able to see anything like that materialize in Williams-Brice Stadium tomorrow, you're going to need your tight ends to put on the big boy football pants, get on the line of scrimmage, and help out that struggling unit. They're going to have to do their part. Because if we just go offensive line versus defensive line for South Carolina and Alabama, I know who's going to win that battle. I've seen enough from both teams. We have large sample sizes now. We're halfway through the season. It's not a secret that Alabama wins against every offensive line they play against. They're going to need help. Brady Hunt, Jordan Dingle, Mo Brown are going to have to chip in with chip blocks. They're going to have to chip in with short passing game. If the passing game struggles, which I think a lot of us expect it to because it has happened a lot this year, can they get open early, often, and be an easy button for this offense? Because you haven't been able to find that this year. The play-action passing game has worked a ton. Play-action passing game can't materialize if you can't get the adequate amount of blocks. So they can help you in multiple ways, right? Your wide receivers have to get open, and they have to make plays after the catch. But the only position group, and you can maybe throw running backs into this too, because they've definitely failed to pass block whenever it comes to picking up blitzes and free runners. But the tight ends, most importantly, might be the thing that we just have not talked about enough in terms of what can be an offensive lineman's best friend when playing against the defensive fronts that you're going to play against. And it has to start tomorrow. Just to give yourself a chance to win tomorrow. But Ole Miss has a really good defensive front. They haven't gotten a lot of sacks this year, but they have forced a lot of pressures. You're going to need them against Ole Miss to help out the same way you're going to need them to help out tomorrow. When you go to Texas A&M, they have arguably the best edge rusher in the country right now in terms of guys who are actually collecting sacks in Cassius Howell. You're going to need them to help out there too. Sometimes the tight end's job is basically being a glorified left or right tackle. You're going to need them to be able to do that tomorrow if you want to have a chance to win. And if you can do that and show that proof of concept against Alabama, don't see why you can't do it against the other teams. But going on tomorrow, too, at Vanderbilt is an example of a trend in college football that I am fed up with and I want to see abolished as soon as humanly possible. And I'll tell you what that is coming up next. Just spent an entire segment talking about how the tight ends can help South Carolina's offensive line. And if you're struggling maybe not with an opposing pass rush or defensive line, but let's just say you're struggling with tax issues, whether it be income tax issues or business tax issues. Those are things that can feel as scary as an opposing defensive line that's getting to the quarterback all the time. Well, let John Ecton and his team at the Ecton Law Firm be those tight ends to come in and help you out. Sometimes you just need an extra body there to be able to take care of that pass rush. Well, in this instance, you might need this team of John Ecton and his team at the Ecton Law Firm to be able to chip in and help alleviate the stresses that you have that are pre-existing because of those tax issues, right? They've been helping people get out of that pesky IRS maze for a long time in the state of South Carolina, and you can set up a free consultation with them today. Call 803-771-9800 to set up that consultation, or you can always visit them online at ectonlawfirm.com. That's ECTON lawfirm.com. Look, there are a lot of trends in college football that people don't like. I understand the frustration with the lawlessness of the transfer portal, of player eligibility, of the ever-changing idea of what a college football playoff looks like and the power imbalance that exists in college football. There's a lot that's changed over the years that I understand a lot of fan frustration with. But one thing that's starting to really grind my gears in college football, it's really starting to get on my nerves a little bit, is the idea of how loose a recruit's commitment can be to a school. It's a trend that I'm starting to become more uncomfortable with, and there's an easy way around this. Here's what I'm talking about. There's a tweet that I found yesterday from Rivals, right? And it goes, news, with like the little alarm emoji. Georgia 5-star plus quarterback commit Jared Curtis will visit Vanderbilt on Saturday for its matchup against Missouri. Steve Wiltfong reports. Curtis attended a Vandy practice with his high school coach on Wednesday. There's one word in there that I take issue with. I don't mind somebody visiting a school, clearly. And you know what? Good for Vanderbilt for getting a 5-star plus or whatever moniker you want to put on an elite quarterback recruit to go to Vanderbilt. That doesn't happen to them often. But this is what kind of waters down that story for me. It says Georgia commit. And this isn't the first time. Jared Curtis is the example, but he is not the only one. He is not an exception, right? This is happening pretty frequently, where a player will commit to a school and then start taking official visits elsewhere. Really putting a stress test to the word commitment, right? Jen Jensen, I have a hypothetical for you. Jen, if I told you, if I went home and I told my girlfriend and said, look, I'm committed to you. This is a commitment that we have. But you know what? The neighbor asked me over after midnight to go hang out at their house and take an official visit. Do you think that conversation would go over very well?
I'm going to say no.
It wouldn't.
How about no?
How about no? And rightfully so. Because the word commitment, by definition, insinuates that you are 100% sticking to that person, or in this instance, that school.
Except when it comes to sports.
And apparently,
commitment means nothing.
I don't think my significant other or anybody's spouse would be cool with their significant other or spouse taking an official visit somewhere else just to see what's going on.
But I love that term. I'm taking an official visit, you know. You can say that in court, in divorce court. Well, I was just taking an official visit.
It was just an official visit. But you know what? That judge would have every right to question your commitment. Mm-hmm. If you want to visit other schools, it's fine, but don't commit to a school and then do that. That's my thing, because you're not really committed. I'm cool at this point now with abolishing commitment ceremonies because I'm over it. A commitment ceremony now means nothing in college football.
No, it just basically gives them a little bit extra visibility.
Yes.
To go get, courted by other schools. Oh, challenge accepted. I see he took did a commitment ceremony. We'll see if we can get one.
That's why now, when like South Carolina loses out on a recruit for the commitment, that means nothing to me anymore. And then even when they commit, I'm like, oh, that's exciting. We'll see if they decide to stay, just because they might take an official visit to see you if they're not committed to you. Mm-hmm. My thing is, I think we're at the point in college football now where this has happened enough. We don't need to do the commitment ceremony.
No.
You can announce who you're going to play for whenever you sign. And if you want to go somewhere else after that year or 2 years, that's totally fine.
Just take your promise ring and go.
Take your promise ring and leave your key and your promise ring on the coffee table and leave. But don't tell me you're committed to somewhere and then taking official visits and visiting another practice. That doesn't make any sense to me. At this point, until you are officially set on where you're going to go and start your college career, there's no need to do the dog and pony show and tell everybody that you're committed somewhere and then take a visit somewhere else. 2 hours down, one more to go. The early game third and long hours coming up next, and we'll have a special guest in studio. Jordan Kay from the state will join us to continue breaking down the South Carolina-Alabama game. Coming up next.
Dilbury Street at St. David's Church Road. Approaching that area, you might encounter an accident, so be mindful of that. Also, Nazareth Road at Highway 6. And aside from that, a little slow going there on I-26 eastbound is typically the case. And as far as your forecast goes, 73 and sunny today, 70 tomorrow, and mix of clouds and sun tomorrow. We will start out the morning a little bit cool. Overnight low is going to be at 44, so it will be a layering experience for the game tomorrow. 68 on Sunday before we have some rain in the forecast to start off the next work week. And we're also looking highs in the low to mid 60s, but currently sitting at 45.
Hour number 3 of the early game. The early game, third and long hour, starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. She's Jen Jensen. He's Ed Bird in the video production studio. Engineer Randy Young and Terry Ford hanging around out here as well. We have a fun hour built for you because coming up here in just a little bit, he's running a smidge behind, but he's on his way. Our man Jordan Kay from the State Newspaper is going to join us here in Studio 803 to continue our breakdown of South Carolina versus Alabama. The tough road ahead for South Carolina to try to win this game and start salvaging bits and pieces of your season. It's going to be tough, but Jordan's going to come in here and help us try to make sense of it. But wanted to start on a couple of things from this game, especially what we need to see from South Carolina when they have the ball. Now, in the last hour, I talked a lot about tight ends needing to help out. And that is a non-negotiable in this game, right? You're going to need them to help out with run blocking. They're going to have to help out in pass protection because you don't fire your offensive coordinator, your offensive line coach, 6 games into a season if the offensive line is playing up to par. They know it's been disappointing, and they're trying to get that fixed. But one thing that can help them out is the tight ends helping them out. But play calling can help them out too. And when you have 7 games of which you're at right now, in which you are at the bottom in a lot of offensive categories, you are north of 100, right? And things that you don't want to be north of 100 in, right? Things like red zone percentage, points, any offensive stat you value, South Carolina is not excelling in, which is why you got to do some things different in this game. You're going to have to throw some things Alabama's way that they have not seen or prepared for because they're going to be well prepared. Kane Womack's a really good defensive coordinator. They have a lot of dudes on defense. I talked about the 2 edge rushers that are really good, but I've yet to mention Deontay Lawson, who is one of the better middle linebackers in college football. Keon Sabb, safety for Alabama, has forced a lot of turnovers, also plays the run game very well. They've got a couple of safeties that play the run game really well that are some of the better tacklers in college football. I think Bray Hubbard is one of those guys who is an absolute game record, and he's one of the leaders in run stops in college football. Oh, yeah, and he's a safety. Very versatile bunch. You got to be able to give them something they haven't seen before, which is why in the first segment of the show, I talked a lot about reverse, right? Running a lot of reverses, running a lot of things that maybe start off going east to west and then go north, south. I mentioned that first play against Oklahoma where you started the game off with a reverse to Nick Harbor, and he picked up a lot of positive yardage. Something Oklahoma probably wasn't expecting because it's not something you've done a lot this year. But you got to go back to stuff like that. You've got to use something like that as the base for other different plays too. For example, maybe instead of handing the ball off to Nick Harbor the second time, maybe you run him in that jet motion and you fake the handoff and then throw a quick pass. Or fake the handoff and have Lenora Sellers run. Anything to draw attention to an extra player. You're going to have a lot of eye candy, a lot of misdirection. That's the word I want to really hone in on in this segment when talking about South Carolina's offense, preparing to play against an Alabama defense that is as talented, that is as fast, is as opportunistic as any in college football. Now, it's not Oklahoma's defense in terms of a lot of the numbers, like stop rate, not giving up yardage on the ground. Oklahoma's got the best defense in the country. Alabama's not too far behind. So you're going to have to do things that even you didn't do against Oklahoma, or even that you didn't do against LSU. Maybe things you haven't done much at all this year, because maybe if you can dupe them, then you can have some success in this game. That's one thing if I'm looking at a lot of common denominators with Kalen DeBoer coached Alabama teams and the games that they've lost on the road when favored by double digits. One of those common denominators there is the run game. Vanderbilt duped them a lot on the road last year at Vanderbilt when they pulled off that upset as a 23.5-point underdog. At Vanderbilt's offense also just designed to do that, but there was a lot of duping that went on. Against Florida State this year, the only time Alabama has lost in the first week of the year. Florida State duped them a lot. They ran a lot of motion, a lot of orbit motion. They shifted around receivers and tight ends. They made it to where there was a lot of eye candy, and there was a lot where you could bite on, right? Not a lot of play action passes, but maybe a lot of RPOs or like quarterback read option plays, to where you have to account for a couple of players on the field at once, right? This is a game, too, where I think you need a lot of misdirection. I would use that Nick Harbor play that you had at the first play of the Oklahoma game. And then I would do it again, but maybe fake the handoff, right? Or maybe don't fake any handoff. Maybe just have him go to the other side of the line of scrimmage and then throw the ball out as maybe like a bubble screen. You haven't seen a lot of that type of thing this year from South Carolina. Now's probably a good time to start it. Because clearly what has been the game plan for the offense, which Mike Shula all season long has talked about trying to strike a balance between the run and the passing game. That's not working. And if you do the same things and expect different results, especially against elite defenses, you are essentially doing Albert Einstein's definition of insanity. What you've been doing is not going to work against Alabama, but maybe you can trick them, because there's a reason that you're 12.5-point underdogs at home. There's a reason that Alabama's number 4 team in the country. Again, watching film on this Alabama team, offense and defense, there were so many different plays where I couldn't even pinpoint what the opposing team against Alabama did wrong, because there really wasn't much. But Alabama is one of those teams where it almost doesn't matter, right? Where on one side of the ball, you can play really well. You can maybe gain a lot of yards on offense, but maybe not get in the end zone. Tennessee gained a lot of yards of offense against Alabama and only mustered 20 points because Alabama forced them into mistakes and kept them out of the end zone. First time anybody's held Tennessee to under 35 points this season, and that wasn't an accident. Georgia's passing game's been really good this year, but they kept them really at bay for that first half, and that was enough to be able to hold on and be able to win that game. Alabama does a lot of things defensively that you can even execute what you want to do, but because they have great athletes, and they'll just do it better and win plays. And when we talk about Alabama's offense in the next segment, that's going to be a common theme. But the same is true for when the Gamecocks have the ball. My big thing is just a lot of misdirection and balance in terms of who you get the ball to. Maybe you have to force feed a couple of players that haven't normally been involved. Mazeo Bennett has been a non-factor this year. You need Mazeo Bennett to be a threat to catch the ball against Alabama. And if that's maybe having a first drive scripted play where you make an effort to get him open and get him the ball, to where when quarters 2, 3, and 4 roll around, whenever he lines up, they have to at least account for him on the field at all times. The traditional definition of balance, of running the ball half the time, throwing the ball half the time, and being acceptable and adequate in both, isn't working for this team right now. But maybe it can work if you take another approach to balance. This is one thing Preston and I talked about in the first hour of the show, is by getting multiple different players involved. And I think Mike Leach said it best. That balance isn't just running the ball half the time and throwing it half the time. His version of balance was having a lot of different players on the field who are threats to get the ball at any given time. And that way you can't just hone in on one player and do the thing where you just make somebody else who is a non-contributor beat you. You have to be able to account for everybody on the field. And there's just been too many games this year where South Carolina hasn't made you have to account for everybody on the field. There are too many times where the receivers are in the game and they are not going to catch the ball, right? There have been too many games we look at a box score at the end of the game, and there's not been a large disparity, or there's been a large disparity of who has touched the ball and who has not. Sometimes it's good to have 5 different guys catch 2 passes. because at least you have to account for a different person on the field at all times. It's the one thing one of the things this offense is really missing, and you're going to have rectified here soon. Maybe break out some plays that you've been sitting on for a little bit, because now's the time. You're 3-4. You have a number 4 team coming into town tomorrow. You are going on the road against a top 10 team next week. We'll see if they're still in the top 10 if Ole Miss ends up beating Oklahoma. I think they will. But I fully expect Ole Miss to be in the top 10 next week, and you have to go on the road and play them. I expect Texas A&M to beat LSU and still be in the top 5 by the time you have to go to Kyle Field and play them in a very tough environment. That is a very well-rounded team, a very complete team. You're going to have to be able to make strides that you've not been able to make all season long. And when it comes to Lenora Sellers, too, look, I know it's probably not ideal for your quarterback to run 15 times in a game, but you got to have more than maybe 2 or 3 designed runs for him. Ultimately, he's still your best runner of the ball. And against Oklahoma, I know they respected his run game, and that's maybe why on some RPOs, Lenore's decided to hand the ball off, because he got the read that would tell him to hand the ball off on an RPO. But one thing I want to see South Carolina do a lot more on offense outside of just a lot of misdirection is have him run outside. They run a lot in between the tackles, but having him bounce to the outside and seeing if he can make a guy miss. Again, we said it a lot this year. Lenoris needs to be the hammer, not the nail. That is where we've seen him at his best, is when he is running aggressively, especially last season. We saw a whole lot of that, where he was at his best when he is the hammer and not the nail. And lastly, going to go back in on a point I made in the last hour, when it comes to South Carolina and having the ball, and what they need to do on offense is find that easy button somewhere. Tight ends can help with multiple different things, right? Last year, Josh Simon was your easy button. When all else failed on offense, Josh Simon was usually getting open and playing really well and being able to be a good safety net for your offense, where you could rely on him to pick up a 7-yard gain on a 3rd and 6. Or if you're in the red zone, a guy who could find his way into a soft spot in a zone and be able to catch a pass for a touchdown. You haven't had a lot of that reliability with some of your tight ends this season. You need a lot more of that reliability, as well as them helping you out in the run game. But it also helps out with the idea of what I talked about with balance, right? Let's say you get Mazio Bennett involved early. Let's say Nick Harbor helps you pick up a first down. Say maybe you're able to connect on a 15-yard slant to Vandrevis Jacobs. If Alabama's defense has to account for those players on the outside, that tight end leak-out pass that you've ran so well this year, out in the flat, that's picked you up several first downs so far this season, whether it be to Mo Brown, Jordan Dingle, or Brady Hunt, will become more open. You can then find an easy button a little bit better if Alabama simply has to account for more players on the field. If you have to force it, try it. But the fact of the matter is, you have just not done enough on offense this year with a variety of players that you have that they really like. It's the reason why they didn't go out in the portal and go shopping for receivers, because they like what they had in that room. You're going to have to utilize them in this game, because if you're too one-dimensional, or the only guys that are constantly touching the ball on offense are Rasul Faison or Matt Fuller, whichever running back is in the game, Lenoris running for his life and the occasional pass to Nick Harbor, you're easy to predict, you're easy to account for, and you're playing into Alabama's hands. If you want to have a chance to win tomorrow, those are the things that they're going to have to do to even give themselves in the ballpark of winning this game and being in any type of contention. But what about when Alabama has the ball? Look, that's probably the most impressive part of this team, is what they do on offense. Everything that I described that South Carolina needs to do, Alabama does at the highest level. But what does South Carolina need to do to be able to keep Alabama out of the end zone, or at least keep them out enough to be able to win this game? Jordan Kay and I will break that down next here on the early game. What's up, dude? You're good.
It's time to start hosting some folks. I'm actually hosting. My younger sister's coming into town and visiting.
North Lake Drive near East Main Street, an accident there in Lexington. Also, Del Rey Street at St. David's Church Road and Nazareth at Highway 6, working on getting that cleaned up this morning. And it's looking like sunny skies are in the forecast again today. 73 for the high, that overnight low of 44. Tomorrow, a high of 70 with a mix of clouds and sun. Great football weather. Going to be 68 on Sunday before the rain comes in to start off our work week. Next week, only looking for highs in the low to mid 60s, so a little bit different. But as far as this morning goes and how we're getting started, 45 currently.
The early game, third and long hour continues. We have a special guest here in Studio 803, my man Jordan Kay from the State Newspaper. Made your first ever appearance, I guess, inside the studio a couple weeks ago when we were previewing the LSU game. Now out here in Studio 803 with us, so glad to have you along.
I know, we're going to be out in the parking lot the next time I'm in here.
That's right. We're slowly moving outside. Yeah, we might just do like an actual tailgate show from the parking lot. And our engineer, Randy Young, says, we can make that happen. We might just get further along, with each time Jordan comes on, we're just a little further away from the studio. But Jordan, one thing that, when breaking this game down and studying throughout the week and watching all the Alabama film possible, I've come to the conclusion that this offense for Alabama is the ultimate throw your hands up and be like, I don't know what else we could have done. They still picked up 25 yards on that pass play, because there are things that teams like Tennessee, Missouri, Vanderbilt, Georgia, defensively playing a play about as well as you can play it. But Alabama is just so good at executing, whether it's Ty Simpson putting the ball where only the receiver can get it, or a receiver leaving their feet and making a spectacular play, or making a really good play in space. This team is just so good offensively and has so many different weapons that they execute at a high level that even you can play a great game defensively and still they'll score 30 points. To me, that's what makes this just such a daunting challenge. But this Alabama offense, just when I really got to focus on them specifically this week, became more and more impressed with just how well they execute everything, even when it doesn't look advantageous.
Yeah, and what I've been impressed with the last couple of weeks is this is an offense that last year all we did was talk about Ryan Williams. Like, hey, do you know he's only 17? Really should still be in high school this year.
They just ad nauseum.
We just kept talking about Ryan Williams, and he was injured, I think, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and we've just seen like all these new Alabama wide receivers, Jeremy Bernard being kind of the main guy stepping up, and it's like, okay, like you can cover Ryan Williams, he might not even be playing, and they're still going to find a way to like get the ball in space to playmakers. And I mean, Ty Simpson, I was looking at the Heisman odds the other day. I mean, either like number 1 or maybe 2, depending on what you look at, which is so crazy because after watching that Florida State game, which is now the biggest anomaly on the planet.
Oh, for sure.
People are like, well, this is why you don't just let the guy who's been there for 3 or 4 years go in. Like maybe the coaching staff did like Jalen Milroe more. It's like, okay, let's calm down a second, because now it's like, all right, Ty Simpson's going to be a top 5 draft pick or top 10 draft pick. It's insane.
Skyrocketing mock drafts.
Yeah, I mean, some of the throws are just disgusting. They're almost like bad throws, and they work, and it's like, that was the greatest throw I've ever seen. So, I mean, South Carolina's defense has its absolute work cut out for them of trying to, first of all, stop these playmakers, and second of all, just like be okay with Ty Simpson making a couple throws this game.
Mm-hmm. He's going to.
And then, do their mantra, the put the ball down. And they've been pretty good this year, to give them a lot of credit. They've not gotten beat over the top very much. Mm-hmm. And so they've done a very good job keeping things in front of them. If they can do that, perhaps there's a chance they could limit them. But it's going to be tough.
And what's really tough, too, is like you've been in the practice facility. You see the big sign on the wall in there that gives kind of their game-to-game objective. And one of those objectives is to run the ball and stop the run. I think they'll be able to stop the run. They should be able to stop the run. We said that against Oklahoma, and Torrey Blaylock still ran for a career high on Saturday. But this Alabama offense isn't really predicated on running the ball, right? Jam Miller's been hurt a lot this year. Has missed the first portion of the season, but even then he doesn't average more than 2.5 yards after contact. They don't have a running back on the roster that's getting more than 2.5 yards after contact. It's an Alabama running game that is so dependent on the push they get up front from their offensive line. And while their offensive line does a really good job, or does a solid job of run blocking, they're ace pass protectors. And that's the one thing that gives me so much hesitancy in this game, is that there's a high likelihood that you can give up 30-plus points, them not run for 100 yards on offense, and what you do best defensively in terms of getting to the quarterback can be completely neutralized because of how well they protect Ty Simpson.
Yeah, if there was ever a day for the Dylan Stewart hero game, it's this week against Alabama. If South Carolina can't get any pressure on Ty Simpson and he's allowed to sit back there for 3-4 seconds every drop back, you're in trouble.
Yeah. And here's the thing, too. Even when he does get pressured, which is very rare, like Alabama just does not surrender a lot of pressures. I was looking on Pro Football Focus the other day, Jordan, and I noticed where they've been blitzed about 35% or so of the time, but he's only been pressured on 28% of his dropbacks. And he is so good at moving in the pocket. Like, he can scoot a little bit. No one's going to confuse him for Lamar Jackson, but he can escape a pocket and run if he needs to. But what he does really well is he moves within the pocket, right? He slides left to right, avoids pressures. He steps up in the pocket to be able to make throws. So sometimes, even when you do win at the line of scrimmage against these guys, what that guy is at quarterback sometimes is good enough to even negate that, which makes it when you're so hard when you're trying to find a blueprint for this Carolina defense to be able to hold them under 30. It's really hard to find how that happens.
Yeah, and I've noticed like SEC teams get themselves into trouble against Alabama because they feel like they have to be perfect. Yeah. It is I have to play the most flawless game of all time. I've got to score in every red zone opportunity. Like, there can be no mistakes. And then teams, of course, just get themselves into trouble. You think about the Tennessee game last week where, you know, they are desperately trying to get the ball in the end zone and run this bizarre play action where everyone in the building knows they're not running the ball. So they play action. None of the corners bite on it, and then it's the pick six. And you're just like, what are you doing? And it was like Tennessee the entire game was kind of playing from behind, but also felt like, hey, we cannot make a single mistake. We have to capitalize every red zone trip into a touchdown. And it's like you just get tight. Mm-hmm. And, like, that's the fear of South Carolina is it feels like it has to go out and play perfect. And I think the coaching staff, hopefully, is kind of saying, like, hey, we're going to give up plenty of stuff. There's going to be probably a long touchdown. You know, Jeremy Bernard's going to get his. Ty Simpson's going to get his. Ryan Williams is going to get his. But, like, if we can just kind of stop them in the red zone, if we can respond, like, maybe we have a chance. But if we don't, it's over.
And that's the thing, like that Tennessee game being an interesting example because before that interception, it's 16-7. You've already made some mistakes, but it's still, you know, you're in the game, right? Like that was the last play of the first half. You're still in the game. If you score on that play, it's 16-14, but you've already made plenty of mistakes. Alabama was getting theirs in the passing game. They were doing whatever it is they wanted to do, but you still found yourself in the game, but you made the back-breaking mistake, right? And the play, the more I watched it, the more I was like, that could have worked if Joey Aguilar didn't tighten up and throw it to the wrong shoulder. Yeah. Like he threw it, you know, the tight end's running to the pylon with his left shoulder towards the pylon. He throws it to his back shoulder where the safety is just chilling there waiting for you to throw that ball. And next thing you know, he's running to the other end zone. And there's nothing else you can do about it. But at that point, when it makes it a 23-7 game and Alabama was getting the ball to start the second half, it felt over, right? Yeah. And that's because this team is so good, you cannot dig a hole that big. Georgia found that out the hard way, too. You dug too big a hole in the first half, and you had to climb out of it. This Alabama, like what this Alabama team does makes it to where you feel like you have no margin for error, but in reality, every football game, there is some margin for error. You just can't play tight.
Yeah, and that's going to be especially tough for a South Carolina team that has not been able to win those close games. You know, a lot of football coaches want to say, you know, Shane Beamer says it all the time, like we got to get it to the fourth quarter and then we'll feel confident. It's like, what evidence is there that like getting it to the fourth quarter is going to pay off? And I mean, that's got to be the hard thing for this team right now is thinking, hey, if we're just a touchdown down going into the second half or the fourth quarter, you know, we have a chance. And it's like, the history has not shown that. I mean, you've got to be up big probably or have some early game-changing plays to be able to feel in the game. And especially against an Alabama team that doesn't make mistakes, that's number 3 in the country in turnover margin. I mean, they're up 9.
Which is astronomical in that metric.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because they don't even force that many turnovers. I think they've forced 12 turnovers, but there's only been, you know, 1 or 2 interceptions and 1 fumble. It's like they just don't turn it over. And that's a hard team to like play against where, you know, even if you're down like a touchdown going into the fourth quarter, it's like, how are we going to make this up? And, you know, perhaps this is the game where that all flips, where someone on South Carolina can make one of those those Nick Eamon-Warry pick six type plays from the LSU game, if it wasn't taken back. Something like that where it's like, that's the back-breaking play. This is the complete game changer, flipped everything on its head, but no one has been able to do it thus far.
Yeah, that's what makes this a really tall task tomorrow. But tonight, there are some exciting football games across the state in the world of high school football. A couple of players we might start seeing on Saturdays playing. Our friend Lou Bajak from the state, sponsored by Paymore, will join us next to break down tonight's slate.
Lou's coming on?
Yeah, we're getting Uncle Lou on.
Stand up for 1 second. I want to move your chair.
Those Bills. I need to pull up Lou's. Lou does the games to watch every Friday, and I riff off that. I riff off his story, and we pull that off South Carolina high school. There we go. Batesburg, Leesville, at Pillion. Let's see. Refresh this. What does your Friday normally look like today before a game?
Usually I'm like off.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's pretty nice.
That is pretty nice. I'm not sticking you with high school covers. They leave that up to Lou.
What?
They leave the high school stuff to Lou.
Basically, yeah. I think I covered a couple playoff games and stuff like that, but
Ridgeview at center. Oh, heavens.
going to the women's basketball exhibition tonight?
I am not. I will be here. Who are they even playing in that exhibition?
I don't even know.
It's probably like North Greenville or something like that.
It's probably something like that.
Yeah,
Why are you here?
High school football scoreboard show,
Oh, okay.
which I'm getting dangerously close to just not doing next year, just because I get up at like Saturday mornings and I'm like, I am too damn tired for this.
Yeah.
I am too tired for this.
And good news, earlier accidents have been cleared, so we welcome that. Just a few slowdowns coming in on I-26 eastbound as you approach I-20. And as far as your forecast goes, it's a good one. We will welcome it and embrace it. 73 sunny today. That overnight low of 44, so it'll be a little bit cool tomorrow as you get things going. But then tomorrow's high 70, 68 on Sunday before the rains come in on Monday. And next week, a little bit different than this week. Highs only in the low to mid 60s. But we'll enjoy this morning. It's warming up, 46 on the early game.
And it's just,
That's tough.
yeah, it's a lot. The less I can sit behind that soundboard, the better.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 8:30 on a Friday, so you know what time it is. It's time to phone a friend. We've got an all state. No, not all state as in performance. All the state newspapers. Jordan Kay's in studio with us. Our man Lou Bajak from the state newspaper joins us right now. This high school sports segment sponsored by Paymore. Need fast cash? Paymore is Columbia's go-to spot for fast cash on your tech. Visit them in Harbison and Sandhills. And Lou, I think we have broken a record right now with the most people on staff from the state newspaper on the show at once. So congratulations on being part of history here.
We're effort.
Oh, you're efforting Lou. Yeah, industry term, efforting Lou. But yeah, efforting him right now. But a lot of interesting games going on in the state going on tonight. If you haven't already, one of the best parts about what Lou does is he will give you like a primer of the games to watch right now. Now we have Lou, I was just saying earlier, we're breaking a record here for the state newspaper staff members on the show at once as Jordan Kay's in studio with us. So congrats on being part of some history today.
Yeah, history, big time. I'm surprised you got Jordan up before 10.
It was tough.
It was tough. He's a trooper about it. He was a trooper. He got in early. And now we're just rocking and rolling. But Lou, one game, like there are many good ones tonight, but the one that I looked at and I immediately started getting really excited, and I'm trying to find who all is going to be there, get those updates for our high school football scoreboard show as much as humanly possible. Is Ridgeview at Sumter, 2 4-0 teams, some significant region championship implications going on here between two really good squads. I think early in the season when Ridgeview was like 2-2 or 3-2, like that's the best 2-loss team in the state because of what it is they've done despite a lot of adversity. Sumter seems like a wagon right now. They're 7-1 overall. What do you see in that game? What are you expecting in that game?
And that is actually where I'll be tonight.
Yes.
Yeah, I expect a good ball game. And Ridgeview's defense, I like to see how they stack up against Sumter's offense, which rushed for 559 yards last week against Blythewood. They got a quarterback, Richardson, who's rushed for 22 touchdowns. So I'm going to see how they battle against that running attack and how Ridgeview's quarterback situation. They started Bijan Virgo last week. See if he starts again over Ashton Chapman. And they've been running the ball well as well with Spencer Bobane. And they got a great defense. So it should be it. Like Ridgeview could, if they win their first region title in almost 20 years.
Oh, see, I love a game that has a little bit of history on the line. Now, one team that I've looked at a lot this year, because they've been, speaking of teams that I would consider wagon status, Newberry is a team that I consider to have full wagon status because they look like legit 3A state title contenders, and they've looked really impressive in a lot of the big-time games this year. They have W.J. Keenan tonight. W.J. Keenan 1-2 in that region. Newberry still unbeaten. Maybe I expect Newberry to win this game, but what I really want to ask you, Lou, is how real those state title chances are, because they've had a couple of really good tests so far this season, and they've seemed to pass all of them in flying colors.
Yeah, they've pretty much blown out every. I think Silver Bluff in the region opener was the toughest. This should be tougher than it was maybe a few weeks ago. Cam McMillan finally made his debut last week for Keenan. The transfer from South Point, and had the game-winning touchdown last week against Fox Creek. Newberry's coming off a bye, and they got the big matchup with Swansea next week, so and they could wrap up the region title there. We mentioned Kenton Caldwell. He's been amazing. I think he needs about 50, 60 yards to go over 1,000 rushing, and he's already has about 1,400 passing. So he's had a heck of a year and makes that offense go.
Now, one game that if we had different results last week, the Saluda at Strom Thurmond game would be a lot bigger. But Saluda kind of got caught looking ahead a little bit. They fell to 96 by 1 point last week, and what I thought was maybe the most surprising result across the state in high school football last week. But still a big game nonetheless. Strom Thurmond in the driver's seat there in that region. What do you expect from that game, and how much of the result against 96 do you think might have been part of Saluda looking past him a little bit?
Could have been looking ahead and still went down to a 2-point conversion. I think they had a couple penalties on that when they're going extra points, so they were backed up on that conversion, so and didn't make it. Saluda's been running the ball well with Tristan Daniels. Strom Thurmond's been really well, played really well, and that whole region is. Well, we talked about before this season that has a chance to be one of the better ones in the state, and has been. You throw in Batesburg, Leesville, who has Pillion tonight, and those three teams. So if Saluda would win tonight, it would really kind of tighten things up as we go to the final week next week.
Another game of interest tonight, too. South Florence at Lower Richland. Now, Lower Richland as a program has made some strides. I really like what they've got going on with that program so far. Sitting at 6-3 so far, 3-2 in their region. But South Florence looks like they're just back at it again, 7-1, 4-0 in the region. But I really want to focus this, Lou, on Malachi Jackson at quarterback, a guy who has been incredible so far this year, has led some impressive game-winning drives, some impressive results so far this year. What have you seen from him in this South Florence team in terms of them making another push for a state title?
Yeah, he's really done well, and in the past maybe more with the throwing, but this guy could do it both ways, running the ball, throwing the ball. He's very physical, made the Shrine Bowl as an athlete, so he can play wherever. It really is tough to bring down. Played well in that state championship game last year, and there's another case. Are they looking ahead? They got Hartsville next week, who's also undefeated in the region, but Lower Richland could play spoiler if they could win. And because that behind them, you have Wilson and Crestwood, and if they would lose, and there's a chance for a three-way tie for third. So, it's a big one. And you're right. Coach Taylor's done a good job with Lower Richland. They've run the ball. They've had a big win last week. So we'll see what happens.
Lou Bajak is on the line with us right now, and our high school football preview is sponsored by Paymore. Need fast cash? Paymore is Columbia's go-to spot for fast cash on your tech. Lou, last game here, Batesburg-Leesville at Pillion. Now, I like to highlight Batesburg-Leesville whenever I can, not just because I think it's been a fun program to cover, but Amadre Wooden has become one of my guys. Like, that guy is electric, right? Sometimes when you cover high school sports, you discover somebody, you're like, wow, that kid is really good, needs more attention. To me, that's Amadre Wooden for Batesburg-Leesville. What do you expect tonight in that game against Pillion, and what makes that Batesburg-Leesville running attack so lethal?
Well, it starts with Wooden, but also that offensive line is pretty strong. The commitment to the run, they're really fun to watch, and it could be a big night. Amadre Wooden's 205 yards to needs the school's all-time rushing record, which is held by Terrence Wilson, who's Wooden's uncle. So kind of family history there. And Wilson went on a good career at Charleston Southern. But, yeah, I like Wooden. It's crazy to think that he didn't make one of the All-Star games. But he's on a tear right now. 5 straight 200-yard-plus games. I think over 1,100 yards in that stretch. So he's going to be fun. That Pillion defense is going to have their work cut out for them tonight.
5 straight 200-yard games. You heard Lou. Those are what I would consider video game numbers.
Get that guy in the Shrine Bowl roster. Holy cow.
Somebody get him in an all-star game. It's a crime that he's not. Lou, good stuff as always, my man. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow as well and talking to you tonight on the Scoreboard Show.
All right, guys, take it easy.
Good stuff there from our friend Lou Bezjak. If you don't follow him at Lou at the State, you absolutely should. And that segment, as always, sponsored by Paymore. Lou's a winner, but Jordan and I are going to give our winners, not just for today's show, but for tomorrow's game, coming up next.
Here they helped us figure everything out.
got winners for you, Coach Singletary. Give you our winners for today's show and for the game tomorrow. Jordan Kay from the State newspaper hanging out in Studio 803 with us. Jordan, my winner for the show. Didn't get to talk about this during the show, but I got to give him a winner's spot here because what happened last night and is not on my radar. Did not watch the game because it started so late. But Aaron Gordon from the Denver Nuggets. Here's how you start a season. 50 points on 17 of 21 shooting. From three-point range, Aaron Gordon, the power forward, went 10 for 11 from three. Scoring 50 points on 21 field goal attempts and only getting 6 free throws is about as efficient as it gets. Aaron Gordon, absolutely a winner. Now, the Nuggets did lose in overtime to the Golden State Warriors because Steph Curry did Steph Curry stuff. And by Steph Curry stuff, I mean go out there and hit 6 threes on his own. Most of those coming in the second half in overtime. But for a player like Aaron Gordon, not a journeyman, but a player who's had a solid career as a lottery pick, ends up going out and scoring 50 to start the season by hitting 10 threes.
My winner this week, Justin Herbert.
Yeah, dude.
I came in.
Efficiency.
I came into this season being like, I do not understand the Justin Herbert hype. This guy will put up some solid numbers. They don't win very much. Maybe he gets them to the playoffs and then they lose. But he's been on a tear this year. Kind of all the Justin Herbert thoughts I had coming into this season have been completely erased. 25 passes for like almost 220 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
Fantastic last night in the Chargers win.
Yeah, the official stat line, 18 for 25 for 227, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. That is good for a QBR, which is on a scale of 0 to 100 of 96.2.
That's good.
Incredibly efficient.
That's good.
I've always felt like, too, Justin Herbert's kind of like the ultimate quarterback evaluation Rorschach test, right? Like you show somebody Justin Herbert, you will get 2 different, very different evaluations. And usually it's either he's wildly overrated or this guy's not talked about enough. Mm-hmm. And I've been on the other side. I've been not talked about enough. I've been on J Herbo Island ever since that guy got drafted and ever since that rookie season. And I'm like, you just got to get him some help. You got to get him some help. And I felt so bad from this year when Rashawn Slater, the left tackle, one of the best left tackles in football, goes down in training camp out for the year before the season even gets a chance to start. I think it was the first day of camp. And I said, oh, here we go again. The Justin Herbert cursed career arc continues. But right now he's got the Chargers at 5-3. I think it's a really good team. I don't think they've really lost to any bad opponents off the top of my head. But 5-3, Justin Herbert's incredibly efficient. They're spreading the ball around really well. They finally discovered, hey, we have Trey Harris, a guy who was an All-American type receiver at Ole Miss last year on the team. Let's throw him the ball a little bit. And they got him in the end zone. So really what's been going on with Justin Herbert's been really fascinating this year. Very good winner to give out. But for the game tomorrow, who is winning this game tomorrow, and what is your score prediction, Jordan Kay?
I went back and forth on this, on the score, and my thought process was, is there any chance in the world that this is a repeat of the 2022 game against Tennessee, where South Carolina lays a complete egg against Florida the week before, scores only 6 points, then kind of simplifies the offense, really just dials in of, hey, what are we good at, and gets an electric performance from Spencer Rattler, puts up 63 points against Tennessee. And I was trying in my head to be like, is there any way that can happen? And I could not figure it out. I just couldn't find that happening unless Lenore Sellers goes like complete Cam Newton 2010. Right. I just don't think South Carolina's offensive line, they're getting healthier, but healthier is still new, and there's going to be too many new guys, I think, to be able to find any the continuity they need. And this Alabama offense, as we mentioned, too good, almost so streamlined, basically. You know what they're going to do. So I went Alabama 31, South Carolina 17. Let's say you.
I went Alabama 41, South Carolina 14.
41, wow.
I think ultimately you might hold them to maybe 17 first half points. if the offense goes 3 and out a lot, which it has done a lot this year, that dam will break. And you can, again, this is an Alabama offense that you can play your A game against them and still give up 31.
Alabama hasn't scored, like, I don't think in the 40s much, so that's bold.
So it's, that I feel like that passing game is good enough. And who knows? We have an exact same pretense like it was that Tennessee game in terms of what you're coming off of and who's coming into town. And Kalen DeBoer does lose games as a big-time favorite on the road. That is something that is a capital T thing. We'll see if that happens tomorrow. Jordan, appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Good stuff from Jordan K. As always. Tyler Head and Jalen Tart, the extra point. That's next.